Here is Ancestry's hint for my great-grandfather's brother. So, have you ever found a picture like this in your grandparents' attic? Or maybe it was just in a box that belonged to someone in your family. No name, no date, not even a location. And there's nobody around to ask who it was? Well, that's what happened to me. And I'm going to show you how I figured out who this man is. Born 150 years ago and found in Grandma's suitcase. He left no children of his own and sacrificed his own life when he defied his captain's orders. Then I had to reach out to a SCUBA team just to see his final resting place. All of this is coming right up, so stick around. I've been getting a lot of comments and emails lately asking me, James, I've got this picture of somebody from my family and I have no idea who it is. How can I possibly figure it out? So I decided to make this video to try and help. And if this video does not help you enough, feel free to reach out to me on my website and book an appointment just to talk to me one-on-one. But in this video, I'm going to use this mystery man from my own family. Let me spoil the end of this video for you real quick. Frank Doherty is the man in this picture, and he had no kids of his own to carry on the story of his heroic final moments. So that's what I'm going to do for him right now. He was born to Irish immigrant Luke Doherty and Narcissa Harley Doherty in 1875 in the small train station town of Ridgeville, South Carolina. But Francis Joseph Doherty was only 5 years old when his father died of consumption, which was the word for tuberculosis. Then their house was left in ruins from the earthquake in 1886. The 1886 Charleston earthquake, which struck on August 31st, was the most damaging earthquake to affect the southeastern United States. It had an estimated magnitude of 7.3 and caused widespread devastation across Charleston and the surrounding region. The earthquake resulted in significant loss of life, widespread property damage, and long-lasting social and economic impacts. Soon after this, his mom packed up all the kids and headed into Charleston, where she ran a boarding house on Meeting Street in 1894, which would have looked something like this. I took this picture at an address that could have been the same one when we visited the town a few years ago, but the building is gone now. On March 3rd, 1913, he married Eleanor Cromwell in Queens, New York. He became the stepdad of 2 boys. Here is Frank Doherty with his wife Eleanor and stepsons in the New York State Census in 1915. State censuses are extremely helpful because they generally take place between the decade interval federal census. Not all states took them, and not all survived. Frank was a wireless telegraph operator and worked for the Ocean Steamship Company on the ship City of Athens. The wireless telegraph was the first means of wireless communication and is credited with saving countless lives on the Titanic when it sent out one of the first SOS signals in history. Speaking of the Titanic, only 6 years later, on May 1st, 1918, at approximately 1 o'clock in the morning, the city of Athens was struck broadside by a French warship in the fog. The impact was so intense that the Athens almost split in half and sank in only 7 minutes. Only 68 people were saved of the 138 total lives on board. Frank was ordered by Captain Forward to abandon ship, but he stayed at his post to transmit a single SOS signal. He only had time to send it once, and it's presumed that he died at his post. I could never find his grave on Find a Grave or Billion Graves or any of those others because he didn't have one. Frank, among millions of others, died at sea and was never afforded a proper burial. He rests with the city of Athens 110 feet down and at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Here's something a little interesting about the shipwreck. The ship was carrying $2 million worth of cargo, including parts for machine guns. Because remember, World War I was in its final year. The wreckage has become a destination dive site for advanced scuba divers. And according to shipwreck diving expert Gene Patterson, It is known as the ammo ship because it was carrying massive amounts of ammunition for the war effort. Now, the city of Athens was not a military vessel. It was actually just a passenger ship that ran up and down the coast from Savannah to New Jersey. And at that time, most of Frank's family lived in Savannah and Charleston. Now, several years ago, when I first started finding out about Frank, I really wanted to get my scuba license just so that I could go down and visit my great-granduncle's actual resting site for myself and see it in person. But I am 6 hours away from the nearest ocean beach, so it started to slip down my priorities list. However, Frank's ship is off the coast of New Jersey, so I reached out to Atlantic divers who specialize in shipwreck exploration to see if they had any footage from previous dives from the city of Athens. Gene and his crew rearranged their dive schedule just for us so they could go out and get some fresh footage. When we were talking on the phone, I asked him if any of the rooms were still explorable. And he said that the weight and pressure of the ocean crushed the ship to pretty much flat around the 1960s. Be sure to check out Gene's blogs for more of his work exploring shipwrecks. I'll put the link down below. And if you like this video so far, please give us a like and subscribe. I want to give a huge special thanks to Gene and the rest of his team, especially Casey, for coming up with this footage for us. It's pretty wild that we know exactly where a specific person died at sea and can hear their story. And a picture of them in their work uniform aboard the doomed ship. Now, let's dive into this photo mystery together and try to solve the old question, who is this guy in this picture? This photo was sent to me by a distant cousin who told me that he found it in his grandmother's suitcase with a few other pictures, but we weren't sure who he was or how he was related. There is no name, no date, no location, and no photographer on the picture. So how can we possibly lock in who this guy is? First thing you need to do before you can really start to figure it out is to build a family tree. You can use any major genealogy site. I personally like to use Ancestry. I've used it for years and I'm just very comfortable with it, but you can use anything that you've got. But I also like to use Ancestry because it has a massive user database that is contributed by all of its members who have uploaded pictures of people that they know. And sometimes you get lucky and can match your pictures to one that someone else has uploaded whom you didn't even know you were related to. So Ancestry is not the only option, but it's where I like to get started. Now, if you already know which side of your family this particular person came from, then you can focus more on that side. For example, if the picture was in your mom's collection, then you can usually rule out anything on your dad's mom's side. But after you've spent some time nailing down siblings, locations, birth, and death dates, you can really take a closer look at the clues in the picture itself. He looks to be middle-aged, maybe 30s to late 40s. He's wearing a uniform. It looks like he's on a ship, but his uniform doesn't appear to be military. Was he working on the ship? Well, It just so happens that there is one man on that particular branch of the family tree that is connected to both me and this cousin, who was a radio telegraph operator on a civilian steamship that ran up and down the east coast of the United States in 1917. And he was 43 when he died. At sea. Let me come back to this, because right now I want to talk about one of the biggest keys you can have to unlock doors in your own family research. And that is to periodically go back over research you've already done. It can be once every couple of months, once a year, whatever. But go back over documents, pictures, and things you've already looked at, because you'll have new information that can shed light on something that you didn't see before. In my case, I knew that Francis Joseph Doherty died at sea. I had gotten most of his info, read the stories, plotted scuba training, and, well, that was about it. But with this new photo of this man in a sailor's outfit, I knew I had to go back and take a closer look at the ancestor that I knew who died at sea. And check this out. Here is a suggested hint from Ancestry that I ignored every time it came up. It's from the collection of U.S. applications for Seamen's Protection Certificates, 1916 to 1940. Now, I didn't know what that was. It sounded like some sort of insurance. So looking it up, it says, a Seamen's Protection Certificate was a document issued to American seamen as proof of citizenship, primarily to prevent foreign navies from forcibly enlisting them into service. So it was to stop other navies from enlisting people by force into their own militaries. It's pretty interesting. But why would I ignore this suggestion for so long? We'll take a look. Here is Ancestry's hint for my great-grandfather's brother. So, like a dummy, I dismissed this hint for literal years. I never really looked closely at the description of the man in this hint, but he is listed as having a light complexion, which doesn't match the man in the picture of this hint. So how about we just turn the page? And there is a picture of my great-great-grand-uncle Frank Joseph Doherty, born on January 16th, 1875 in Ridgeville, South Carolina, and died at 1 a.m. on May 1st, 1918, when he sacrificed his own life to save others. So with this photo match, I was able to tell my cousin, you found Frank. So we have a mystery photo from a family collection that has no name. We built a tree to rule out and rule in possible matches. We used clues from the picture that helped match his occupation, and probably the most important part is that we went back over what we thought we already knew and found the biggest clue we could have possibly gotten, a photo match from a scanned record. This unidentified man was locked in a suitcase for decades, and his heroic ending had been forgotten until now.